Deep work sounds impressive, but it begins with simple habits. Richard Feynman showed that strong focus comes from clear thinking. Deep work means you think without distraction on one meaningful task. It is not a mood or a special talent. It is a state you enter on purpose. You choose one problem and give it honest attention. You stop trying to do many things at once. Feynman's way of thinking was simple and direct. He did not force focus with stress. He built it with clarity. When you know what you are working on and why it matters, your mind can settle. You begin to stay with one line of thought instead of jumping around. Deep work begins with focused and honest attention. Deep work does not happen in a crowded mind. Distractions pull your attention in many directions. Your phone, open tabs, random thoughts, and alerts all split your focus. When attention is split, thinking becomes shallow. You may feel busy, but you are not working deeply. Feynman preferred quiet mental space. He valued the ability to hold one idea without constant interruption. You can support this by removing both outer and inner noise. Outer noise means notifications, open chats, background media, and constant checking. Inner noise means jumping thoughts, worries, and urges to switch tasks. You cannot remove all of it, but you can lower it. Your mind has limited working space. When that space is filled with noise, there is less room for real thinking. When you reduce inputs, you free capacity. You give your mind room to think. Removing distractions clears space for deep work. Deep work needs a clear target. You think more deeply when you work on one problem at a time. Feynman often focused on a single question or idea and stayed with it. He did not try to half work on many things at once. You can copy this by naming one problem in simple words. You might say, "Right now I am working on this," and write it in a single short line. This gives your mind a sharp goal. Clear aims guide attention. When your goal is vague, you drift. When it is simple and concrete, you can lock on. You also define scope. You are not trying to solve everything related to the topic. You are doing one clear piece. This reduces pressure and confusion. Your mind knows exactly what it should do in this block of time. A single clear problem strengthens focus. Deep work grows from clear understanding, and clear understanding grows from simple language. If you cannot explain something in simple words, you do not really understand it. When you use plain language, you lower mental strain. You do not need to juggle complex phrases in your head. You work with ideas, not with impressive terms. You can train this by writing out what you are working on in everyday language. You describe the problem in short sentences. You explain what you know, what you are trying to find, and what seems unclear. As you do this, you notice where your thinking is sharp and where it is fuzzy. When the mind does not fight with heavy wording, its load is reduced. Simple language creates a stable base. From that base, you can go deeper. You are not using energy to manage confusion. You are using energy to think. Simple language supports deep understanding. Deep focus is trained through practice, not forced through pressure. You may feel that you should be able to focus for long periods right away. This leads to stress and guilt. Feynman did not treat focus as a moral issue. He treated it as a skill developed through steady work. He kept returning to problems day after day. Over time, this built strong concentration. Repeated behavior shapes the brain. When you practice staying with one task for a set time, you train your mind. You can start small, with short blocks of deep work, and slowly extend them. The goal is consistency, not heroics. You begin to notice that holding attention becomes easier. The mind learns that during this period, it is not expected to jump. It is expected to stay. This slow training is more stable than trying to force focus in one dramatic effort. Deep work grows through regular practice. Deep work requires protection from task switching. When you jump between tasks, your brain pays a switching cost. Each time you move from one task to another, your mind must reload context. This cost is often hidden, but it is real. You feel it as a drop in depth and a rise in mental fatigue. Feynman valued long, uninterrupted stretches of thinking because they let complex ideas fully develop. To limit switching, you can decide in advance what you will and will not do during a deep work block. You choose one task. You close unrelated tools. You do not check messages just for a second, because each check breaks your thought chain. Performance drops when you try to multitask. The mind may feel active, but it is not working deeply. Deep work needs a clean line of thought, not constant resets. By defending one block of time from switching, you let your mind sink into the task and reach a level of thought that is not possible when you are always jumping. Deep work becomes easier when you break large ideas into clear steps. Big problems can feel heavy. When a task looks too large, your mind resists starting. Feynman was skilled at breaking complex ideas into smaller parts. He would separate a big concept into simpler pieces he could work on one by one. You can use the same approach. You begin by writing the main problem. Then you list a few simple steps that move you forward. Each step is small enough to understand and do in one sitting. The mind handles information better when it is grouped into meaningful units. Instead of one giant vague task, you now have a short series of clear actions. This lowers anxiety and raises focus. When you finish one step, you move to the next. As you move through the steps, you are still doing deep work, but you are doing it in manageable slices. Deep work needs strong foundations. Weak assumptions block insight. As you work, your thinking rests on many quiet assumptions. Some may be correct. Others may be faulty or unclear. Feynman used doubt as a tool. He regularly checked the base of his thinking. He asked whether his starting points were sound. You can do this in a simple, calm way. You look at your main idea and ask what you are assuming. You state those assumptions in plain words. Then you check if they are really true, partly true, or not clearly supported. Strong thinking means testing the base, not just the top. When you find a weak assumption, you adjust it or replace it. This may feel slow, but it prevents bigger errors later. It also makes deep work more effective, because you are not building on shaky ground. Deep work is not only about pushing forward, it also depends on reflection. After a block of deep work, you pause and look back at what happened in your mind. You ask yourself what you understood, where you got stuck, and what changed. You are not trying to judge yourself. You are simply noticing. This is thinking about your own thinking. Feynman saw value in stepping back from a problem and reviewing his ideas. This helped him find errors, patterns, and new directions. You can reflect in a short, simple way. You might write a few lines after each session, what you worked on, what you learned, and what you plan to do next. Reflection turns raw effort into insight. It allows your brain to organize and strengthen what you just did. It also makes the next deep work block easier because you already know where to start. Reflection reinforces deep understanding. Deep work becomes powerful when you apply it to real problems. Thinking deeply only in theory is not enough. Feynman used his focus to solve concrete problems in physics and beyond. He connected his deep thought to real questions, real equations, and real challenges. This application tested and improved his understanding. You can do the same on your own scale. You pick tasks that matter in your life or work and bring deep work to them. Instead of skimming through them while distracted, you give them focused blocks of attention. You ask clear questions, build simple models, and work step by step. You test your thinking against results. You see what works and what does not. When something fails, you do not see it as a waste. You treat it as feedback about your model. Deep work becomes easier when it turns into a daily habit. Instead of waiting for rare, perfect moments, you set a simple routine. You choose fixed times or clear triggers for deep work. You decide how long each block will be. You show up and follow the plan, even when you do not feel highly motivated. Over time, this routine trains your mind to enter focus more quickly. Feynman did not rely on rare bursts of inspiration. He repeated his way of working again and again. This repetition turned clear thinking into his normal mode. Repeated behavior builds stable patterns in the brain. The more you practice deep work at regular times, the less energy it takes to start. You also learn your own limits. You see how long you can work well before quality drops. You can then design your day around a few strong, deep work blocks. Instead of trying to work deeply all the time, deep work is not mysterious or distant. It is a clear way of using your mind. Strong thinking comes from simple moves, clear goals, honest attention, simple language, and steady practice. You do not need to force your brain with stress. You guide it with structure. You clear distractions, define one problem, explain it simply, and stay with it. As you repeat this, you begin to trust your ability to enter deep work. You see that focus is something you train, not something you either have or do not have. You start to think more clearly, solve problems more calmly, and use your time with more care. The process is calm and direct. It turns your mind into a tool you understand and can control. Deep work is built through clarity, focus, and steady practice.